Hello everybody, this is MrYourWilly for part 4 of the invasion tutorial. If you haven't seen part 1, click the link at the very bottom left there and it'll bring you to the first part of this mighty long tutorial. Now, in this part I'm going to be showing you how I make an invasion map or not the map itself, but the game type for it, step by step. So I'm going to be using my Slayer fort. That's the same map that I've been using for my Slayer, Infection. What else did I do? I also did Assault and Capture the Flag. So for all those maps, I've been using the same fort, and I have been saving it for each one. So go ahead and watch those tutorials if you haven't already. It's also a good benchmark to learn a little bit more about setting up the specific game types that are involved in Invasion. But as I said, I've been using those maps or those game types on this one, but you don't see the free-for-all or team initiation points. Why is that? Well, the reason why is it doesn't have the right label. Remember at the very beginning we labeled it Slayer and free-for-all and team. Well, because this doesn't have that game type label, it won't show up in this game type, which is a nice thing because you don't want your Slayer and Infection spawn locations to screw up your Invasion spawn locations because they're completely different. You usually don't want the red team for your Slayer to be the same as your Infection to be the same as your Invasion. They're usually different. So that is why those don't show up. The things that do show up though is the respawn points, and the reason is they have no label. Those won't interfere in this game because we set up our own respawn areas using the zones and phases, and those will cause the game to override the respawn points which are laid out around the map. So you don't have to worry about it. So let's go ahead and set this map up to work for 6 versus 6. Now I set it up to be Invasion for the game type label. This does absolutely nothing besides reminds me that this spawn point is for the Invasion game type. I also tell it to be game type specific true so it doesn't interfere with any other game types. I also tell it to be the blue team because elites are attacking, so they need to be outside the fort. Stop sliding around you. Stop. This one is already raring for an attack, isn't he? Stay. There we go. Silly elite. Now I went ahead and set up the rest of the initiation points for the blue team just to speed up the tutorial. That saves us a couple minutes. Because I only want to do the first phase, but depending on time I might be able to do another phase. But we'll see. Now I'm going to go and set up the respawn points because now we have it where they start. Well, where do they go when they die? So I'm going to put one here for the blue team. And zone, and I set that up to be zone because I want it to be there for all 3 phases. Now, like I said, this map isn't meant for Invasion, and the reason why is it doesn't have that third part, the ship up in the space that I had for my Invasion fort map. So this one doesn't have that, so we don't want to set it up for 3 phases, or at least this game doesn't work for 3 phases, so this wouldn't work for an Invasion map. So when you do set up your Invasion map, try and make it fit all 3 phases because you do want to make the map fun, but you don't want to be covering the same area over and over again if you can help it. And let's put one more over here. I'm gonna set this up to be phase 1 because I only want this to show up for the first phase. And I'm just going to double check because I can't remember if I set that one up to be a phase or a zone. I set that up to be a zone. I want you to be a phase. Alright, now that we have the blue team, let's set up the red team. Since we're already on hill markers, might as well set up where they respawn. And I want this to be phase 1 for red team. Going to put one up here, I guess, and one on the lower floors. Now normally you want to set up the area to be the size that you're fitting it. It really doesn't matter for respawn points too much because you spawn where the arrow is facing the direction of the respawn symbol underneath it. So you really don't need to set it up to fit like I'm doing right here. But it does help if, like, let's say half your team all dies and they all pick the same location. Sometimes it can cause issues, like if this zone is actually outside the wall like that, you might accidentally spawn on the other side of the wall. So do be aware of that, but it is very unlikely because really half the team would have to die and all choose the same location to spawn. Now that we've got that done, let's go ahead and get the red team here, which is usually the quickest to get to. So I usually do that first, but seeing as we were at the blue area, I decided, might as well start there. Let's go ahead and put 6 of these guys on the fort. One there, one over on the opposite side. Let's make one the sentry, so he'll have like lookout point. He'll be the first one to scream like a little girl when the elites go rolling over the hills. I keep pushing that button twice. I'm like, no, I don't need that label. I need the one previous to that. Let's go ahead and put one down here. He was having a smoke break, which is probably bad for him anyways, because smoking kills. But then again, so do giant scary elites. Let's go and put you here, because I feel like it. And let's put the last guy in here. Alright, so now that we have the initiations and respawn points set for both teams, let's go ahead and set up where their objectives are. Now, first phase objective will be, let's see, right in front, might as well. Also, I'm going to set it up so that the little arrow points towards the fort, because I noticed during testing that wherever the little respawn arrow at the bottom there is pointing, that's the direction that the noise emits from. So if this is under attack, obviously the fort wants to know about it, not the field behind it. So just for the heck of it, I'm just going to have it face the fort, so that they get alerted louder than the elites, because why in the heck would the elites care that the fort's under attack? That's a good thing. For them, at least. That works. And let's put one more back here. Now you notice that, because I made this one a box first and the other one I changed the labels before I made it a box, that actually affects how the area is shaped. So if you make it a box first, it's actually a box. If you change the label before you do that, it's actually kind of like a flat box. For some odd reason, I think it's a glitch, but the length is set to 0 if you change the label before you change the shape. I'm really not sure why. I don't see how those two are connected, but in Reach, I guess they are. Alright, so now we have them attacking from the side and the front. And I just realized that I don't know what direction this is pointing. It's pointing the wrong way. Once again, the cliff doesn't need to know that they're under attack, the fort does. It really doesn't matter. I mean, it's not required, but it does help, I guess. I'm gonna go ahead and put a giant shield door, wrong way, there we go, right here. Because the elites are attacking, they want to get in the fort. So, let's make it like an obstacle for them to try and actually get through. And let's make this one and a gate. Also, the side here needs to be a gate for one. Now the back ones here, we can't make those a gate because we want them to appear afterwards. Instead of making them a gate, I'm going to make this one a vehicle for phase 2 and this one a weapon. Why? Because they're absolutely the same thing. Or at least they do the exact same thing. So I might as well just make them the same. or at least different, just for amusement's sake. Now this one, we could put a shield door here, but I want to do something a little bit more interesting. So let's go ahead and get a wall in here. And push you a little bit further back. That coordinates it so it's center-ish. And raise its height. Awesome. Now, this one is going to be a invasion vehicle for phase 2. Because I want that one to appear. And this one to disappear. Just like the gate tutorial that I showed you with the exploding gate. It's basically the same concept, but instead of making it an exploding gate, it's an opening door. So you can use that technique for really anything. You just got to be creative with it. So there you go, a door that's closed and then a door that's open. 5 out of the 100 people that play your map will notice that. So they can pat themselves on the back for noticing the awesome opening door effect. Alright. Phase 1 is complete. It was super simple to do. I set up initiations, respawns for both teams, an objective, and an obstacle. Now we already reached over 10 minutes, so I'm just going to go ahead and end it now. Just follow these steps for each one. The only step that you don't do is setting up initiations. So instead of doing that on your next step, when you set up phase 2, just set up the respawn points. And because a zone works for all 3 phases, you only need to set that up once. So you can just ignore that. The only thing you want to set up is phase spawn points for the second phase, an objective for them to get to for the second phase, and some kind of obstacle or something to actually show that you're on the next phase. So I hope this tutorial helped you. I shall see you all later. This is MrYourWilly signing off.